Solar 101, a beginner's guide to buying solar, 2022 edition. By watching this short video, you'll know more about solar energy than most Australians. You'll be able to go toe-to-toe with a solar salesperson and be confident you're paying the right amount of money for a system that uses brands I trust. I'm Finn Peacock, a chartered electrical engineer and the founder of solarquotes.com.au. My website contains heaps more information on everything you could ever want to know about solar energy and its installation in Australia. But there is so much information on my website, it can feel like tumbling down a rabbit hole. That's why I created this Solar 101 buying guide, and I update it every year to keep you up to speed fast. Let's get on to it. Here's what you should know before you get quotes for solar in Australia. Number one, the four main components of a solar system. Four main things make up a solar power system: the panels, the inverter, the racking or mounting, and the monitoring system. Let's go into more detail for each. Component one, the panels. Solar panels are simply a collection of 60 or more solar cells. They sit on your roof and they convert sunlight into DC electricity. Panels can use different cell types and cell arrangements, such as monocrystalline, polycrystalline, half-cut, or shingled. They also come in two sizes: 60 to 66 cell residential size and 72 cell commercial size. Now, despite the names, you can use either on a residential roof, but commercial size panels are a bit bigger and heavier than the residential ones. Their advantage is they can pump out more watts, so you can squeeze more power out of fewer panels on the roof. The downside is that their size and weight does make them more difficult to work with. This means the installer needs to spend more time making sure that the install is compliant. Speaking of compliant installs, to fit all the panels you want on your roof, your installer may decide to install them landscape instead of the more common portrait. Now, generally only good installers will offer this option, as it is a bit trickier to install. Now, it doesn't really matter if you get mono, poly, regular, half-cut, shingled, residential sized or commercial sized solar panels. What matters most is that you get a good brand that has a solid Australian support team. Now, you probably don't know a good solar panel brand from a lemon. And why should you? Here's a handy chart of all the brands I consider to be good quality and well supported in Australia at time of filming. This list is not exhaustive. If you're not sure about a brand, just shoot me an email, but be aware my reply will most likely be, play it safe and stick to a brand on my chart. To get an idea of how buying premium panels will affect your budget, going for a high-end brand such as SunPower over a budgeted brand like Jinko can add about 30% to the total system cost. Now, the difference in performance between budget and premium brands is actually fairly marginal. The main difference between the two is how much their energy output will degrade over the years and the length of their product warranty. For example, 370 watt Jinko solar panels are warranted to have 83.1% of their rated output after 25 years and come with a 12-year product warranty. Top-end 400 watt SunPower Maxium panels are warranted to have 92% of their output after 25 years, and they have a full 25-year product warranty. But the SunPower Maxium costs more than double of a Jinko panel. Is that slower performance degradation and longer product warranty worth the extra? That's a decision for you to make. Component 2, the inverter. Solar inverters convert the DC electricity produced by your panels into AC electricity, which can be used by your home. They come in two main flavors: string inverters, which are around the size of a briefcase, and microinverters, which are around the size of a paperback book. String inverters go on a wall and all the solar panels connect into it. Microinverters go underneath each solar panel. There's also a third option: power optimizers. These are kind of a hybrid between the two. An optimizer system has both a string inverter on the wall and optimizers under each panel. Please never mount a string inverter where it will be in full sun. Choose a shaded spot, a cool garage, or ask the installer to build a simple shade over the inverter. That's because direct, intense sunlight kills inverters. It cooks them, and Australia's sun is particularly harsh. Installing an inverter where it is exposed to direct sunlight may also void the warranty. Now, here's a rundown of the inverter brands available in Australia I believe to be good quality and well supported. Again, this list is not exhaustive, but any reputable installer has a 95% chance of quoting you one of these brands. The inverter is the component most likely to fail in the first 10 to 15 years. This is because they work hard all day and they do wear out. If your inverter fails, it will bring down your whole system unless you're using microinverters. So even if you're on a limited budget, I'd recommend considering a mid or high-end solar inverter. I'm confident they'll last that much longer than the cheapest ones. High-end inverters, like a Fronius, cost about $1,000 more than the budget-end ones, like a GoodWe. What about optimizer or microinverter-based systems? Well, expect to pay up to $3,000 more than what a budget inverter system would cost. Component 3, the racking or mounting. What connects your solar panels to your roof? It's the racking. Now, there's a wide variety of racking brands out there, but at the end of the day, racking really is simply aluminium bolted together. Most brands are much of a muchness, except for the premium brands like Radiant. They provide more flexibility in the system's design, and they should corrode less over decades. Now, this chart shows the brands we're familiar with. The difference in price between a budget end brand and a premium end brand is about $100 per kilowatt installed. Component number 4, the consumption monitor. Consumption monitors are small devices that sit in your switchboard. They cost around $500 and they measure how much electricity is coming from or going to the grid. To be clear, you can install a system without one of these consumption monitors, but I strongly recommend getting one. This is because inverters out of the box will only tell you how much solar energy your system is producing. You're blind as to how much energy your home is using and when. If you invest in a consumption monitor, your monitoring app will become much more useful. It will show both production and consumption. This lets you easily see the best way to manage your electricity use for maximum savings. I think the added insights you get from using a consumption monitor like this make them worth every dollar. Number 2, a good solar installation is critical. A bad installer can take good brands, like the one shown previously, and make a dog's breakfast of the installation. Such systems not only look crap, but they can be unreliable, underperform, and be unsafe. Solar systems can have up to 600 volts DC running through them. The install quality is critical. If you're sourcing your own quotes, weed out bad installers by checking multiple review websites. Some review websites are easier to game than others, trust me. Look at the 1-star reviews. These tell you a lot about the true culture of the company. All companies make mistakes, but some companies make lots of really bad mistakes. Avoid them. And look for consistency in ratings across Facebook, Google, Solar Quotes, and other review sites. Look for a difference of less than about 0.2 stars on their average ranking. Inconsistent average scores is a red flag they're gaming one site. Number 3, the basics of roof direction and the angle for optimal solar electricity generation. Let's start with the best direction to face your panels. First, the absolute basics. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. This means east-facing panels will generate more power in the morning. West-facing panels will generate more in the late afternoon. North-facing solar panels will generate the most energy overall, but less in the early morning and late afternoon compared to east and west-facing panels respectively. East and west-facing panels will produce about 15% less energy per year compared to north-facing. But a working household can actually self-consume more solar energy with east and west-facing panels because those panels produce more energy before and after school or work, potentially accelerating their system's payback compared to a north-facing one. Sadly, I've spoken to more than one homeowner with a massive east or west roof ripe for harvesting solar energy who thinks it just isn't worth it if their panels can't face north. Now, it used to be true if you couldn't install panels on a north-facing roof, say 10 years ago, then a solar power system wasn't worth it. But now the prices of solar power systems have dropped so much, you can get a fantastic return on investment from east or west-facing panels, or a combination of north, east, and west. And despite what many well-meaning installers may claim, you can get a good return from south-facing solar panels in Australia. I'm about to install extra panels on my south-facing roof because I have a battery and 2 electric cars, and I need as much generation as possible to recharge them. Now, let's move on to panel angles. The ideal panel angle to maximize the energy produced over the whole year depends on your location. So, for my house in Adelaide, the ideal solar panel angle is around 29 degrees from horizontal. If you're not able to install your panels at the ideal angle, it's no big deal. The solar panels on my own roof are at 15 degrees, and I only lose 4% in annual energy yield compared to the perfect angle. Generally, unless your roof is flat, the best angle to mount your panels is whatever your roof is built at. If your roof is flat, you can still install the panels flat, but you need to be aware that you'll lose about 10% of your total annual generation, and you'll need to pay someone to clean them frequently, up to 3 to 4 times a year. This is because you need at least 10 degrees tilt for the rain to reliably run off the panels and clean them. I recommend using tilt frames for a flat roof to avoid the lost generation and hassle of cleaning them. If you have a flat roof and decide to use tilt frames, then consider east-west tilts. These allow you to fit more panels than north-facing tilts, and the structure is simpler and usually cheaper. Number 4, understanding how your home uses solar energy. Your solar system installation will only ever operate in one of 2 modes. Mode number 1, your system is generating more power than your home needs. Here, my home solar power system is producing 4.4 kilowatts. 0.9 kilowatts is going into my home, with a surplus 3.5 kilowatts simply going into the grid. My retailer pays me a feed-in tariff for each kilowatt hour of solar energy that I export. Here in SA, at the time of filming, I'm getting 14 cents per kilowatt hour of energy exported. Then there's mode 2, where your home is using more power than your solar system is generating. Here, my home needs 2.1 kilowatts of power, but my solar system is only generating 1.8 kilowatts. The grid simply tops up my home with the extra 0.3 kilowatts required. Obviously, you have to pay for any imported energy. In Adelaide, I pay 32 cents for grid electricity and I get 14 cents my exported solar energy. This means self-consumed solar power is more than twice as valuable as exported solar. This is why I have my appliances set to run when the sun's out, and I don't feel guilty when I switch on my aircon to preheat or pre-cool my house during the day to give me a comfortable temperature at night. Number 5, how many panels should you buy? My answer to this question has changed considerably compared to just a few years ago. This is because solar system prices have fallen by a lot. The only limitations now are your budget, what your roof can properly fit, and the amount your local electricity network, DNSP, Distributed Network Service Provider, allows you to install. For most homes, the minimum you should consider buying is a 6.6 kilowatt solar system. If you use a lot of electricity, or you're likely to add an electric car and or battery to your home in the next few years, you should really consider going larger than 6.6 kilowatts. I don't think I've ever heard someone complain that they put too many solar panels on their roof, but people do regret installing too few panels because it's expensive and complicated to add panels to an existing system at a later date. Number 6, the solar rebate is still very much alive and kicking, and it's generous. The famous Australian Federal Solar Rebate, technically known as the STC scheme, acts as a point-of-sale discount off a solar installation's final cost. All the prices you see advertised will already include this discount. It's worth about $450 per kilowatt of solar installed, but this will vary depending on where you live. So, for example, 6.6 kilowatts of panels attracts around $3,000 in rebates. Anyone can claim the rebate, even if you've already bought solar in the past and want to buy a new system. The only restrictions on claiming the rebate are: your solar installation must be less than 100 kilowatts, which is bloody huge. You get it installed and designed by a Clean Energy Council accredited professional, and you can ask the installer to provide proof of accreditation. You use panels and solar inverters approved for installation in Australia by the Clean Energy Council, such as those I mentioned in my chart earlier. The federal solar rebate is slowly being phased out. It reduces by 1/8 of today's value every January until it goes to zero in 2031. Now, for Victorians, the Labor government has introduced a state-level Victorian rebate that offers eligible recipients up to an extra $1,400 off the cost of the solar installation at time of filming. Number 7, what price ranges can you expect to pay for a quality solar system? At the time of filming, December 2021, approximate prices for good quality solar systems in Australia, including full installation, are in the following ranges: 6.6 kilowatts, $4,500 to $8,000. 10 kilowatts, $8,000 to $12,000, and 13.3 kilowatts, $10,000 to $16,000. To be clear, the upper end prices are for top end system installations, for example LG or SunPower panels, installed by a solar energy craftsman. These prices also include the discount from the solar rebate. However, for those of you in Victoria, these prices do not include the state-level rebate offered by the Victorian government, which provides a further rebate of up to $1,400. If you want to downgrade to a reputable budget inverter, for example, the brands on the left-hand side of the inverter chart previously shown, you may be able to save up to $800 on the prices. Costs can increase if you need a switchboard upgrade or other electrical work is required to make your home suitable for a solar installation, or if the design of your home makes the installation more difficult. If you decide to install microinverters or an optimizer-based system over a string inverter, costs can also increase by up to 20%. Installing battery storage for an off-grid or a hybrid system will at least double the system's price. For systems much cheaper than these price ranges, I'll just say that rarely cheap solar costs more in the long run from repairs and lost output. I tell my friends to avoid these systems. It breaks my heart to see cheap solar panels go to landfill after a few short years. Number 8, how to calculate the savings and payback of a solar system. Exactly how much money solar will save you depends on quite a few things. The size of your system in kilowatts, the output of your solar system, which depends on your panel orientation and location in Australia. When annualized, this is actually very consistent. Your self-consumption ratio. This is how much solar electricity you use in the home versus exporting it to the grid. Your feed-in tariff. These vary from retailer to retailer and state to state. Your usage tariff. This is what you pay for grid electricity. The main way solar saves you money is by offsetting your grid electricity usage. Let's say you pay 32 cents a kilowatt hour, as I do in Adelaide, and your solar system generates 1 kilowatt hour to offset that. You've just saved 32 cents. But what if your system generates a kilowatt hour when your home does not need it? Well, it's sent to the grid and your retailer pays you the feed-in tariff. Using my own plan as an example, I'm paid 14 cents as a feed-in tariff by my retailer, AGL. 14 cents is less than half of 32 cents, so self-consuming my solar energy saves me more than twice as much as exporting it does. Now imagine being somewhere like Perth. In Perth, you only get an averaged 4-cent feed-in tariff, and you pay around 28 cents for grid electricity. So in Perth, self-consumed solar energy is worth 7 times as much as exported solar electricity. Here are some payback calculation examples for 6.6 kilowatt systems across the country. They're taken from my solar calculator using typical prices and usage patterns. If you want to save as much money as possible from your solar, you need to maximize your self-consumption. Think, what's running outside of daylight hours that you can put on a timer? Washing machines, dishwashers, and pool pumps are some of the easiest wins. Avoid any solar energy company that calculates your solar system savings based on 100% self-consumption, unless your home has a battery and an electric car. Make sure you see the savings for more realistic scenarios, such as 20% and 50% self-consumption. Number 9, batteries. Do you need them? Solar batteries are great for energy security. The peace of mind from knowing that you will still have light, refrigeration, and other essential circuits, no matter what happens to the grid, can be priceless. Batteries are also great fun, seriously. There's something extraordinary about seeing your house run off nothing but battery power. Batteries also provide a form of insurance against the risk of electricity prices going up and feed-in tariffs going down. A properly sized, correctly installed and configured solar battery can reduce your grid use by up to 95%, making you almost immune to electricity and feed-in tariff changes. To be clear, no one knows which way electricity prices and feed-in tariffs will go, but if you have a battery, you won't care. But these benefits do come at a cost. For example, without a battery rebate, it will cost around $10,000 to add a decent amount, around 10 kilowatt hours, quality energy storage to a solar system in Australia. Take 30 to 50% off this price if you live in Victoria, ACT or SA and are eligible for your state's battery rebate. The typical payback period of an unsubsidised battery of that size is at least 15 years, and most batteries have a 10-year warranty. Compare this to a solar system without batteries. A regular, non-battery solar system has a typical payback of around 3 to 6 years and should last 25 years or more. So, if you're buying batteries only to save money, unless you can access a state-based battery rebate or gain a time of use tariff, installing a battery isn't likely to be worth it for you. My advice is to wait for battery costs to come down before investing in one. But If you want a home battery for energy security, insurance against changing electricity prices, and for the exciting technology, go for it. I've got one on my home and I love it. Certainly don't wait for batteries to come down in price before buying solar, because that's just locking in more years of high energy bills every single quarter. You don't need to buy a special type of solar system to be ready for batteries. Every Grid Connect system ever installed in Australia is compatible with future batteries using a technique called AC coupling. One more thing. A recent phenomenon in the world of batteries is the virtual power plant, or VPP. In a nutshell, you can get a cheaper battery if you agree to let the VPP control it. They will then be able to charge and discharge your battery at will to profit from electricity price fluctuations. In some states, there are generous VPPs that can bring battery payback below 10 years, but you do have to crunch your own numbers. Never take an electricity retailer or VPP operator's word at face value. And these VPPs are very new, so buyer beware. My personal take is that if you want more control of your energy use, then don't relinquish control to someone else. Number 10, how are you planning on paying for your system? Understanding finance. Most Australians actually buy solar systems with cash. If you're debt-free and have cash looking for a place to go, investing in solar is worth serious consideration. Solar currently generates a tax-free, reliable return that is far higher than bank interest rates or government bonds at the time of filming. However, some of us don't have the luxury of easy access to thousands of dollars. Many solar installers offer no interest finance, and if that sounds too good to be true, it's because it is. If you see a deal that claims no interest, your BS detector should be going off. All finance has a cost. The no interest deals often charge the installer 15 to 25% on top of the price, and that cost is passed on to you. Now, don't misunderstand me. Plenty of reputable solar installers, not just the rip-off merchants, offer no interest finance because many customers demand it. But in my experience, you can get a much better deal overall by shopping around for a low interest finance provider and avoiding the easy sign up, no interest deals. Number 11, remote solar shutdowns and the dreaded solar tax. In South Australia, it's been a requirement since October 2020 that your solar system can be shut down remotely by the electricity network. Why should non-South Australians watching this care? Because it will very likely roll out nationally. That means you. I've seen a lot of hysteria in the media about this. If such remote shutdowns happen more than 2 to 3 times a year for more than a few hours at a time, I'd be very surprised. That means the financial impact of a shutdown is likely to be around $20 a year. Not exactly world-ending stuff. Some solar inverters will turn off when given the remote shutdown command. Others will continue to power your home but won't export to the grid. Ask your installer to provide an inverter that can still supply your home in the event of one of these remote shutdowns. Attracting even more hysteria from the media than remote shutdowns is the so-called solar tax. From 2025, power companies will be able to lug you with a small surcharge if you export solar energy to the grid when the grid doesn't need it. Now that's not great, but what the mainstream media won't tell you is that this goes hand in hand with being paid more for your exports at other times. They also won't tell you that this is an optional scheme. Electricity companies will always have to offer a plan that doesn't contain this solar surcharge. So for the savvy solar owner, which in part comes back to maximizing self-consumption that I talked about earlier, you should be able to come out ahead. So don't panic about a solar tax, making solar systems not worth it anymore. They should certainly still be a worthwhile investment. So there you have it, my Solar 101 guide updated for 2022. The safest way I know to buy solar is to get quotes for comparison from reputable, pre-vetted installers, which is exactly what my website, Solar Quotes, can do for you. Just visit solarquotes.com.au, pop your postcode into the top right box, fill in the form, and I'll do my absolute best to connect you with up to 3 pre-vetted installers that I trust. Thanks for watching.